Well, Julie, welcome to Basis, whatever the hell number it is. We've actually been communicating since somewhere earlier this year, but I didn't know it had actually happened.
That was because I was being heavily targeted. So my computer was being fried at the time. So there was no way of me communicating with you properly anyway.
Right. Well, to be blunt, my computer's been fried. I've lost 2 hard drives, and 2 of those hard drives were with the media that had the 2 previous guys. What's his name? Aaron and the Italian guy. Have you seen them? No?
No, I haven't had a chance. It's been really strange. I haven't actually had a chance to watch many of them recently. There's been so much going on.
Well, why don't we just sort of start from scratch? I mean, first of all, it's great to see you, but I don't understand. We communicated. I've got text from, I think, January or something, or April or something this year.
Oh, yeah. That was way back. An awful lot's happened since then.
Were you in the UK then, or in Canada?
No, I was in Canada. I've only just moved to the UK literally a few weeks ago. My furniture hasn't arrived yet, so I'm still settling in, really.
Actually, talking about settling in, could you just move your screen so we get less of the light bulb and more of you? Can you move that? Is that easy to just... Yeah, that's it. No, that's fine. Yeah, great.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, good. Brilliant. I know you're a bit too low.
I'm a bit...
Other way. Great. Just center the picture. That's great.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, from the bunker, this is Basis whatever number, and we've got Julie Phelps from up north. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm a northerner from Lancashire, but moved to Canada. So I've been in Canada for 8 years and just moved back to Lancashire again. Now,
I love Canada. I was there in the 70s, late 70s, when I had hair out to here. And I loved it. I loved Toronto. I loved Mississauga. And I loved going to Ottawa, and Toronto, and things like that. What brought you out there?
My husband. I got married to a Canadian, so I moved to Canada. So we could be together, basically.
That always helps.
Well, yeah, somebody's got to move somewhere. One person's got to move to one country or the other.
So you've been with James Rink, my colleague James Rink, and or I think he's called James Ring or something on Facebook.
Well, yeah, he's got 2 days, I think, because he's James Ring and James Rink.
We won't go into the details about why. Now, I was in Canada, but I got there for a very weird reason in that I had a student exchange here, and just by sheer luck, my name was picked out of the hat, and I got the chance to go to Canada for a whole year.
Wow.
That's not coincidence. Something's going on there.
No.
Now, the other thing is, have you seen anything of Bases at all?
Yeah, I have seen some of the Bases. Definitely.
Yeah. Which ones?
You mean,
just to give an idea, roughly. I mean, what sort of was your interest, or?
Well,
doesn't really
just
matter.
General interest, really.
Yeah.
I've been as far back as I remember, I've been an experiencer and an abductee, and then of course I joined the military in 1984.
Okay. My whole family were in the military, but obviously in World War II, a lot of people joined the various armies for their own different reasons. And coming from Northern Ireland, that was a big deal. Well, Ireland, loads of people in Ireland joined the army for different reasons. But anyway, but my father's brother was RAF, and he died in the war, and he didn't want me to. I really wanted to join the RAF. And I don't know why, I had a really big compulsion to join the RAF, and you joined the RAF. But before we get to that, do you want to give some background as what your childhood was and what brought you, and why did you join the RAF?
Well, my background was up to about the age of 6. Some of this is recall more recently because I've been coming out of programming. I've been through deprogramming and things like that. I'm still working on it, but hopefully I'll get all my memories back eventually. And then I recall trauma-based mind control from the age of 6. And the age of 9, I remember a ritual, and I was sold into a high-level Illuminati family. And from there, not much happened from what I recall, but it's a bit of a blank then, until I get to the age of 18. From there, I just had this vision about joining the RAF, and within 2 days, I went down to join. My parents were not exactly for it, but I went down and they said, "Oh, we've got nothing available except for aircraft mechanic propulsion, aircraft engines." So they did some tests for mechanics, which I was always really good at mechanics anyway, because my dad was into mechanics.
Yeah, but you're a girl. You're not. You're only meant to do fluffy dogs' tails or
Oh,
whatever, wherever it is.
I know.
How does a girl like to do mechanics? I'm being deliberately stereotypical here because the BBC we had all blokes, and it was great to see women come into the engineering department of the BBC. But I'm being so why you? What did actually my best relative? They were all doctors. Not my best relative, but a close relative. The whole family's doctors, and then one of them becomes the best mechanical engineer, and she fixed all the stuff in Harland and Wolff, these big catamaran things, these high speed jet
Oh,
things
yeah.
going across the sea, and she fixed those for Harland and Wolff in Belfast. So anyway, great to see girls in engineering. You can speak now.
Breaking up now.
Oh,
Right.
oh,
Okay.
that's me waving my arms. Don't wave your arms and fingers when you're on Skype. Okay. Can you still see me? Hear me?
No, I can't see you.
You should be able to see yourself.
Yeah, I can see myself, but I
Now you
can't
can
see.
see me, and
Oh,
now I can see
that's
you.
better.
Great. So you got into engineering, and that gave you an inkling to do jet engines and stuff in the RAF.
Yeah, I joined up. As I said, I was looking to possibly join up as RAF police on that side, but they had nothing like that available, and they said they had aircraft mechanic propulsion available, and they basically drew me in and said, "Look, take the test, see what you think." And then within 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks, they wanted me in. Not even like, and that's not even enough time really to do all the proper background checks and things. It was like, I said I couldn't join at that point because I said I haven't even got a hairdryer. So it was really funny. But yeah, within the next week, I was in within about 3 weeks, doing my basic training and straight into RAF Halton.
So whereabouts
Which
is that?
Buckinghamshire, so it's very near
Actually, what I'm going to do is I know
Peasmore.
there's an
Just like,
if you just want to hold it a second because I know there's at least 2 other computers on my circuit here, so I'm going to switch them off to try and improve the bandwidth. If you just hold it
yeah,
for a second.
okay. This is my RAF Halton one.
That was actually 3 computers.
Not many then.
Yeah, well, I'm rendering on one, but I had 2 others. The 2 that I lost the main hard drive, which contained the interviews of the last 2 super soldiers, so to speak. And hopefully this will be fine. That's 2 hard drives, a Cat A, and a few other things has gone since they were there. But they may have been dying anyway. It's just cold weather. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Sorry for that. So where were we?
Okay.
Your RAF certificate thing.
Yeah. This was from. Well, I don't know if you can see it very
Yeah,
well.
that's fine. Yeah.
It's fine. That's RAF Holton. I got the one from RAF Holton when I was doing my training, and then a general aeronautical and general engineering one as well. So
those are important. You need to really make sure you hold on to those. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah, I've got loads of certificates actually. Got on with degree and everything else.
But that's great. That's really well done.
But yeah, when I joined the RAF, there were not very many aircraft mechanic propulsion, aircraft engine women in that trade. There was a few more in airframes and the armoured side, but not many in the actual aircraft engines. I was told.
What type of engines? Were these jet engines or helicopter?
They were jet engines, Jet Provost Mark V mainly that I was working on, but also the Chipmunks. In fact, I could show you. I'll just go and get something. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are like the guys signed this one when I was working on the Chipmunks. So all the guys signed that one because that is something they do, you know.
That's a good trainer. It's a good trainer to give basic training. Yes.
Yeah, the Chipmunk was one of the last of the piston engine, so that was more unusual. So they were quite interesting to work on, really. And then this was another one. This is funny, you know, guys being guys.
Oh right, it's got
this. Is a joke. Yeah, me bending over the flaming aircraft.
So is this after you finished working on it? Is that right?
Yeah, this is when I was leaving, and they were sort of like, I'm trying to get in the centre.
Yeah,
here.
That's great. Yeah. That's a wonderful.
So they signed it, and they were just joking around. And this was Fleet 15. I think it was 15, wasn't it? But it was there was always problems with it. That's why they show it all broken, because we could never get to the bottom of what was wrong with it. It was just like we take it apart, put it back together, and it'd still be very strange. Things would go wrong on it.
Do you think does an aircraft, based on your experience, do you think an aircraft has a life of its own? Like, does some aircraft die that they crash, and then people recover them from a lake or something, and or whatever it is, and then they fly them again and they crash again? It's as if they're meant to stay.
Yeah, I think a friend of mine, he knows more about elementals, and I've been learning about them. So yeah, you can get like gremlins in them, which are just elementals, but they've just been forged into, like an aircraft shape. There's still the elementals in there. So I think now I would actually probably talk to the elementals rather than you can get a lot further by doing that.
So explain that. I mean, what do you mean it was in the aircraft shape? Has it sort of taken the shape of the aircraft, or what?
Well, it's like, obviously you're forging the panels. They're made of metal or they're made of alloys or whatever. But originally there were elements from the earth. So they all have a form of elemental source to them. And as we, as humans, forge them into different shapes and things, that's when we can get gremlins, because they're like just a kind of distorted elemental. And yeah,
that's
you kind
really
of treat the aircraft with respect.
Yeah, so that's very interesting.
Yeah, I've learned a lot more about that because my friend knows about native stuff, and he was explaining that to me too. So I was thinking, yeah, that's a really good idea. Um,
And was he in the
about
RAF or
elemental. No, he's just part Native American, so he knows more about the elementals and the reconnecting. So I've been reconnecting with the elementals. I start doing tobacco ceremonies and things now, and it's a good way of connecting to the earth. And I've done it since I've come back to Britain, so connecting again with the elementals here as well, because it's kind of a reawakening. A lot of British people have lost that ability to connect with the land and the
well,
energies of the
it was
land.
forced on them.
Yeah.
AD 500 or AD 600, you did anything like that. The church from Rome, I mean, great. All around about that time, there's a massive massacre of the wise women, the connection, anybody with the connection with the earth, and all that.
Oh, definitely. And as we know, a lot of the women were the healers until, of course, the church wanted to make a profit, bringing their own apothecaries in.
And that's, of course, we call it a National Health Service. And I think today's Daily Mail had a thing about condemning homeopathic remedies.
Yeah, well, I know from Canada. Last year, I was very, very ill. It was some form. I think it was some form of targeting or poisoning with abductions. And it's not just me. I've known some other people from the secret space program have similar. And I felt really, really ill. My whole body was in sheer agony. And I actually used some natural CBD oil, which obviously is not illegal or anything. I think it's legal here now. But it really worked. Within a couple of weeks, I felt so much better, just within a couple of weeks. And they tried me on so many different mainstream medications. I completely, I've got my medical records now. No opioids at all or anything. It suppresses my breathing, so I can't take them. So more natural remedies are much better. I tried the government CBD oil. There was something in it that made me ill as well.
What is that
So I
oil?
went
Is it from
private.
hemp or what?
It's from marijuana, hemp. It's like, because it's all legal in Canada anyway, so you get it through the prescription though from the doctor. So you can, I'm not sure if it's legal here yet. The
Well,
CBD.
I know that my family were in the textile trade, linen, and a lot of that's still around in Ireland. And a friend of our family, they actually do hemp oil in Ireland,
Yeah,
and they export it. It's
yeah, it's a really good idea. I mean, look at hemp ropes.
yeah, exactly.
It's always
The Belfast Rope Works, linen trade and all that. They made a huge amount of ropes from hemp.
yeah, I've seen rope where they make ropes. The old ropes. It was a really long building because, of course, they have to
Yes.
stretch them a long way. Yeah, for the ships. So that's quite interesting as well.
Yeah, the Belfast Rope Works was famous for that. That was they provided the ropes.
Yeah. Mm.
So continue. This is fascinating.
So yeah, well, I've learned a lot. As I said, I've learned a lot more about elementals. I'm communicating with a lot more different beings, both on world and off world. And this week I've actually communicated with another species of arachnid. Actually,
Right.
the other arachnids kind of introduced me, and these were a little bit more scary.
Well, just to
to
stop you there, I was briefed about the Lake District big spiders about 15 years ago, at least, and it was people were being taken, and the information I got is there were these huge spiders in the big bases way down in the Lake District, and they had to block off the passageway so nobody would go down there. And you're the first person to talk about this since that's 15 years ago. The only other person who spoke about spiders was a guy called Ron Adams, who was a guy that I encountered at the early days of bases way back in 1994. And he was at RAF Bentwaters. He was US Air Force Bentwaters. He had social access and was in there with his family, doing a lot of stuff. You could just about walk anywhere. And then, the Reynolds from Forest things happened in 1980, and then the whole thing sealed up. But they were being abducted. The whole family was being abducted. They were MILAB'd. And the one thing they were paranoid of was spiders.
Yeah, I was actually, right up until this year, I had really, really bad arachnophobia. Now, I do recall in the my labs, them like a room full of spiders and like traumatizing. So I've always had really, really bad arachnophobia. And this year, I've had a steep learning curve because when I went up to the Palladian ship and met the Alliance, I agreed to be a mediator and ambassador for different beings, and as which it includes the arachnids, any being that is benevolent. So it's kind of you have to swallow hard and like, yeah.
Well, do you think that the Earth spiders are communicating with us? We're getting quite a lot of dropout here, but let's continue. Do they? I mean, we're surrounded by spiders. They clean our houses. You have the bathroom spider, and they do their thing. And do you think that there is a terrestrial? There's a whole lot of questions I need to ask about what you've been saying. So much just to know that one sentence. Yeah.
They are terrestrial, been here millions of years, and there's not just one species. I'm now been introduced to another species. Now they're more
we're going to wish that we're breaking up and you're freezing a lot. We're going to wish good wishes to whatever's communicating with us now. Do you think something's communicating now, stopping this Skype?
Well, I always get a lot of interference, so it might be.
Yeah.
You never know with me.
Or me.
Things break
or
up
me.
all the time.
Okay, well, we'll just continue. This is really amazing. Let's just dream on and talk.
Well, it goes. The reason they communicated with me was because of a recall I had when I was in the secret space program, and this has always been a memory. This has never been blanked. I always remember seeing a baby spider with a human head, and at the time it really horrified me because I was really very upset at the time because I thought, how is this child going to be able to grow up? You can't go down the street, you can't do anything normal, and I was really horrified that they did this experiment. Now, more recently,
before we go any further, can you describe what that human spider looked like?
As I said, I'm going to do some drawings, but
yeah. Okay. Well, you can show those now. At I suppose we'll announce that you are coming to the bases conference 24th of November, hopefully. Yeah.
Right. Okay. He's about 7 foot. He's not fully grown. Now he is. Now he's 7 foot. His body is arachnid, so he's mainly arachnid actually. But like his head tilts up, like the head part tilts up, and he's got a head shape of a human but with black hair. And his eyes are big and black, but he's got a human-like face.
Okay. We've lost it. Yeah.
The human. But
I missed all that.
With him psychically.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to redial. You froze there for about a minute. So I'm going to just keep recording and we're going to redial, okay? Maybe that'll help.
Interference. Yeah.
Do you think that the spiders are crawling? I mean, I've seen scuttlers. Have you heard of them?
Are they more the AI spiders?
Well,
Are you
let's
talking
just
about
do a
them?
redial and we'll just see. It's going to work. Okay.
Okay.
Because it's how do we do that? Yeah. Hello, Julie
Hello.
Phelps. How are you doing?
I'm good.
The
Been
way,
away a long time.
yeah, the way I have this camera looking at the screen, it almost looked like an opening episode of Doctor Who. Anyway, let's continue. Just the way that the monitor fed back and stuff. Anyway, this is fascinating, but this is natural. These are terrestrial spiders. These are terrestrial life forms, huge.
Yeah.
Are they sort of a bit like Bigfoot and the other ancient terrestrial life forms which have been here, or what? In terms of
They
their
they can phase
their
in and
place.
out of form.
Yeah. God damn it.
Dimensional, third dimension, so they can phase completely into the third dimensions, can become completely solid in a dimension. I have seen one. It was 4 foot. It was outside my room in Canada. Now, it was sent to me, that one, and that was a small one. It was only a small one, but it
That
was
was that
communicating
to
with.
physically get into the building, practically speaking?
Well, it was on the chimney just outside my window. I saw it. It was materialized, so I saw exactly what it was. But when it came into the house, it came through my bedroom door. It opened the door. It literally turned the handle, opened the door. My dog started to growl at it. And then it opened the
Now,
door
how
and
did
went
the
up the
dog
wall.
behave, actually?
Well, she was really, oh, poor thing. She's been so traumatized by certain things, but um, she growled, but then she settled down. So it was invisible when it came through the door, but it did open the door, and then I could sense it. And then it did touch my leg. So and from that, I got communication. They started to tell me some of their history, how long they've been here and things like that.
Well, can you do that
Um,
now? Just explain this whole thing. Just take as long as you want.
Well, yeah, as it came in, my dog, as I said, she started to growl at it. But obviously, I think it communicated with her psychically to calm her down. And it knew not to appear straight off right in front of me in the bedroom, because even then I might have like slightly panicked a bit. So it, but it was there. I could sense it, completely sense it there. And like when when somebody's in a room and you're not looking but they're there, you have that sense. But then it did literally touch my leg, but I didn't jump. It was very calm, it was very benevolent. um, and their history goes way back. It goes back millions of years. So they were here before the reptilians, or at least before the Draco were here. I know we have like terrestrial reptilians too. Um, so they go as far back as you can imagine on this planet. Um, so they have every right to be here, but they have stayed neutral with the Draco. So they've like just stayed out of it, just lived their own way.
Okay, I'm going to
Um,
just interrupt there. I can't stop I can't stop avoiding this product placement. IMAX at the back. Now, one of the things that Max Spears and James Casbolt referred to were diamond spiders in Antarctica, and they were fighting them, huge things. Something about Saturn's moons, or maybe some moons from Jupiter.
well,
Any recall on that?
I remember arachnids being on Mars, but they were in a different quadrants and sectors, so that you would stay away from the area because it was their domain, and that's that. Because arachnids are very territorial. Well, I don't blame them. so would I.
Well, I've seen
I
a
would.
spider kick another spider out. I can see they can really kick ass if they want you out of there.
Well, these particular spiders, you're not going to win against these particular spiders. You don't want them as an enemy because they are precogs. So you
Yeah,
cannot aim a gun at them and fire because they already know what you're going to do.
yeah.
You can't bring a ship down and blow the tunnel up. They already know what you're going to do. So then you can't beat them in the fight. Nor could the Draco couldn't either.
Well,
But
this is
they are
important.
benevolent.
One of the military training things that they do, that if you're going to kill a guard, a patrol, if you're going to go there and your mission is to, okay, you got to get into the base. The one thing you must do is not think you're going to kill this guy. He'll pick up on it and he'll kill you.
Yeah.
So it's a human trait as well, but we're just being programmed out of not using it.
Yeah, well, we are multi-dimensional beings for certain, and we have been so mind controlled. Everybody has on the planet. It's such a prison planet, this.
Yeah,
That,
which we're breaking. We're breaking all this. We're breaking through this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm here. That's why
Yeah.
I'm talking. It's no other reason. I've not got any books or anything else. I don't care about that. It's just about hopefully supporting people to break free.
Yes.
Because we do need to break free. It's so important for the humanity, and also raising our consciousness level to go up to fifth dimension, which I have been up this year. I went up to a Palladian ship, which was fifth dimensional, which is very different than Earth. It's so much lighter up there, and you can kind of manifest things.
But you have to be careful what you're manifesting.
Yeah, but up there you don't get any of the negative.
Yeah.
The negative is like drawn out of you. There's none of that, so you don't have those negative thoughts.
Well, you'd have
They
to,
don't exist.
otherwise you'd be manifesting weapons or guns or whatever thing.
Well, exactly. But to go up there, and when you're up there, you literally don't think of that. It doesn't happen. Conversely, I remember going through a portal when I was young because I did get experiments with portals. And I went into an extremely dark dimension that was absent of any light, and I never want to go there again. That was like, I think it was the area where the jinn come from, the dimension they come from, and I wouldn't want even my worst enemy to go there. Nobody. It's just too horrible.
Now, you mentioned jinn. I've talked to there's two things I'm talking about here. I'm interested in. You've mentioned the Pleiadians a lot. And in recent days, there's been a photograph of Trump signing some kind of an agreement or being forced to sign some kind of agreement when there's allegedly a Pleiadian woman there, quite a fierce blonde-looking woman. But it's like a lot of blondes, you have your hair well swept back. That doesn't mean she's got a higher back skull. But does that resonate? Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know there's Palladian ships around the Earth because I can go out and I just communicate with them, and then they'll flash at me. There's always one around me. Here in Canada there was, here there is. I never know where they're going to be in the sky, but I just ask. And they send a flash, and then they start like shining up around. Now I'd need a very good camera to pick that up. I have got photos of UFOs and things, which is what actually triggered my original breaking free of the mind control. It was ETs. It was when I started to see the ships about 5 years ago now. And before that, I always had certain memories, but it was 5 years ago when the ETs got involved. They started to help me, basically start to break free. And then more recently this year, I really have worked hard at breaking free with Simon and other connecting consciousness people to really support me in breaking out of the mind control.
We'll talk about Simon and his connecting consciousness. I first met Simon at the very first days of a thing called the Amash Project, and he was the first guy on camera. That's way back in March, I think 2011.
Yeah.
But let's move on now with your thing of the Pleiadians and the arachnoids, and you mentioned jinn. Rosemary Ellen Guiley, the late Rosemary Ellen Guiley, wrote some books on the jinn, and they're mentioned in the Bible with King Solomon, and they're meant to be original, indigenous, living, civilized beings here, but they're made from energy. We're made from mud. So they look down at us on that because we can't shapeshift like they can. Can you explain anything about the jinn while we're just passing through these many subjects?
Well, maybe I would go more for the demonic, because then, rather than the jinn, maybe it's hard for me to distinguish. To me, the jinn are less negative, but I have experienced demonic, which was very, very difficult to. It was challenging to fight that. I needed a lot of support to fight that, and I had to, because I've been introduced to satanic stuff when I was younger. This is all part of the mind control, breaking free of the mind control. They also, in part of it, they layer in triggers for demonic. So the first thing we had to do is, it wasn't just me on my own. We had to challenge the demonic element that actually was to do with my husband's death, which...
Is that your first husband?
No, that was my Canadian husband.
Okay.
It was a year ago, just a few days ago, that he died.
All right.
Yeah.
Just to recap, there is a very good interview with James Rink that you've done, I think October the 9th or something, about 2 weeks ago. And
yeah,
that's well worth, James done a very good job there. So just people can reference that. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So, I've lost track. Oh yeah, about the jinn and demonic. Yeah, I had spells way through the books because I found out my husband was my handler. Although in the end he did sacrifice himself rather than me, because he was due to kill me on the 20th of October last year. We found this out by letters and notes and things. But he didn't. Because he did fall in love with me, he killed himself. It didn't, unfortunately, stop the satanic group going after me, which I ended up in the safe house just before I came back to Britain. So I was in the safe house for a week because I'd had various contacts, about 5, telling me that they were planning on kidnapping me. So I know what they're capable of, so I wasn't going to get kidnapped, not by them.
What are they capable of?
I know from my friend, they were after me for about 5 years, but they didn't do anything particularly. But I knew about them. I had to be very careful. I went around armed. But they basically they will skin people alive and things like that. It's about the worst you can get. It's a very, very bad group. And I have got contacts.
I mean, we have contacts, and hopefully there may be one coming to the conference from Northern Ireland, and they had to save their daughter, this person's daughter, from being brought by her father to satanic monarch control programs in Northern Ireland, which is endemic in Ireland.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously I've been through Monarch. That was done through, again, regression. It was Monarch that I went through. But I do recall what happened when I went through the trauma, which I did talk about before with James. And they do seem to be able to layer in the demonic. And when I opened some of the books that were in the house, they had spells in them, and I had to end up burning the books, because these books you don't want in general circulation. They were pretty deep books, so occult books. And I remember actually burning them. I one of the books, it actually started to burn, and each page was turning over one at a time and burning. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. It was like, oh my goodness.
Except on Harry Potter, maybe.
Yeah, except on Harry Potter, it was like weird watching it. It was like.
So do you think it was some kind of guardian
right?
being doing that to make sure it was burned? or was it
I think
self-destructing?
so, because I'd called. I think it was something like that, but I think the elementals, the fire elementals, had come in to make sure it burnt, because I made sure everything was burnt to a cinder, including some paintings that I'd done, which was under mind control, which again had very Illuminati symbolism, and also other paintings I'd done, which were like of white temples with what looked like a white Queen Draco.
Can you explain what a Draco is relative to a normal reptilian? What's the difference?
Well, the Dracos, the woman that I drew was very white skinned. It was a white skin, like you see some of these Egyptian um, hieroglyphs and models about reptilians. And then the Draco, I came back from the regression again. I'd had a lot of influence from Draco. The Draco put me in the AI goo, black goo. Um, Now the soldier Draco that I drew, um, which I might try and redraw again, because I can't get the faces right on the Draco. They either look like demons or they look like angels, and it's like no,
Well,
they're
angels
not
aren't
quite
going to
like
be
that.
that
So,
good, right? You've got to be careful
well,
about angels. That's
so that was. Oh, I
that's
can't do it.
amazing. You're doing really well there. Those are brilliant photographs. I mean, drawings.
Yeah, well, this was the fence when I got that uh, event when I was kidnapped a few years ago. Well, I was abducted with my husband. We both recalled it fully, and they Draco were behind the fence, um, and yeah, that's why I don't eat meat now. Well, I don't. I'll eat fish, but I won't eat any mammals or anything because they were butchering people that day. Um, so
So they
I can't. I can't do it.
is that but part of the human trafficking's for to its contracts to feed these?
Well, it was around Dulce area because I did find it on
Dulcie, yeah,
Google Maps.
yeah.
Dulce, that's my dyslexia right
No, I've got
pronunciation.
dyslexia, but apparently yeah. Now,
Right. So,
it's not too far from Albuquerque. That it's not too far from there.
well, it was near like a tower. I remember there was a like a radar tower, and I found it, and I'm gonna have to find that place again because I can find it. Um, and um, and that was where there was like a grey warehouse, and they had like it flanked both sides with the fencing. It was about 6 foot fencing that builder's fence you bolt together, and it was just dawn. It was just getting light, and I remember everything, the breeze on me and everything. But I remember, I was absolutely terrified. My husband was slightly less terrified, but he was pretty brave. So. Um, but he said to me, "Yeah, you did look terrified." I said, "Yeah, of course I would." But we realized very quickly what was going on. You do, your mind races in that situation. You're in total shock because you go to bed and then you wake up and you're in this zone with other people. They were all in hypnotic state, and you realize very quickly that the screams coming through from the grey warehouse, and you realise those screams, you can't mistake the screams of death. It's like agonising death. You can't mistake those screams. Because I know I got sent, I don't know how I got sent this, but I got sent the video of the Hillary, the
Okay,
Hillary video where we had the child.
start that sentence again, please, because there was such a dropout.
Yeah, I got sent to my video links out of nowhere. I got sent that Hillary video where she was killing a child. Well, or supposed to be. I only had the sound effects, and then they had a description of what was happening. But it was bad enough, the sound effects, because you can't mistake. You know the difference between a fake scream and a real scream. It's just it hits you in the heart.
You're
It
talking
hits you
about a video
completely.
which has the soundtrack of Hillary Clinton killing a child.
That's what it was labelled, but I
How do you
didn't
know
hear it.
it's? I mean, how do you know it's
It could have
Hillary?
been anybody. It was just stated it was,
Yeah,
but
well,
who
that doesn't
knows? It might
really
have
mean
been.
anything, really. But it's terrible anyway.
No, but I knew by the sound it was real, but whoever it was, I don't know. It was just pertaining to be Hillary in that.
Which is a dreadful
But yeah,
slur on anybody. But
it is.
yeah,
Who knows if it's true or not?
yeah,
I just
yeah.
don't
I
know.
just need to make that clear. That's all.
Yeah. Um, but then it reflects back on when you hear real screams of real people in sheer agony, then you know it. You don't forget it. Um, and the reptilian, as I said before, he brought us. We were out of the mind control by this, and me and my husband were looking at each other. We were like looking to plan to run or escape or trying to figure out what to do. I knew at that point, analysing the reptilians, we wouldn't have a chance. But I thought, well, if we're going to die, at least die quick. Try and trigger them to kill us quick or something. That was my only thought. I thought that was it. I thought, well, I'm going to die now.
Now, this is
But
very important. Could you explain this situation in greater detail? Because this is important. I've heard situations like this.
well, right. I'll start from the beginning then properly. I woke up and I was in this lineup. There was a lineup of about 75 people as a rough estimate. There was me and my husband next to each other, and we were flanked both sides with this builder's metal fence, which was bolted together. So, and on the other side of the fence, as I showed, there was a reptilian not far away from us. And then there was other reptilians along the line. There was like,
Can you describe colours? And that's a monochrome picture. Was it green? Any detail of the skin or
well, it was
height, stuff like that?
it's sort of a greeny browny grey colour. It's a hard colour to describe, but it's very reptilian-ish. There were about 14, I guesstimate about 14 foot, because I was looking at the fence, guesstimating from the fence and then looking up at the top of the reptilian. They were really big reptilians. And they had like clawed hands. And I didn't take too much notice of the feet. It took me a lot of recall to try and get the legs because I was too busy looking at the head. Um, and and then I remember looking along the line. This happens very quickly, obviously, in a situation like that. I looked along the line and saw everybody else was in a hypnotic state, except me and my husband. And then I saw at the end, near the warehouse, there was a gap, and they took two people in at a time. And they were still in a hypnotic state when they took them in. But that left a gap in between the fence and the warehouse. And at that point, I thought, if we're going to escape, that would be a gap there. Because, we were just looking at something to maybe trigger them to just shoot us or something, whatever they could do. But before we could do too much, they'd already spotted we were out of hypnotic state, and they made us go over to them to the side of the fence. And then he picked me up and he brought me right towards his head. And he psychically communicated with me. He calmed me down because I was in a state. And then and he said to me, don't judge us, you eat meat. Because he'd read my mind. He'd read that I was, realizing what was going on, that
Yeah,
they were
I've heard
butchering
that
the.
exact phrase. These were German speaking. They were deciding how many children they were going to use in the ceremony that night. And they said, don't judge us, you eat meat. We just eat
Yeah,
you.
yeah, exactly. It's like you're not the top of the food chain, tough luck. Uh, they didn't say that, but I knew what he was thinking. So I really analysed that, and I thought, yeah, you're right.
Now we've frozen again.
And every time I tried to,
You froze for about a minute. Okay.
every time I tried to eat meat from then, I just felt sick. So I gave up. I thought, no, I'm not eating meat. I can't eat meat anymore. So I've stopped. I'm vegetarian now. My husband did carry on eating meat, but the reptilian told him something different. He told him that that they kill their own. If their own don't make the mark, if they aren't good enough, they will eat their own. That's what they told him. So they told us both different things. He noticed some women reptilian. I
Okay.
didn't notice women. I think I was too bit of a shock, too much shock to sort of notice the women. But he did. And he said they were just slightly shorter than the men, not much. They were almost exactly the same, but he could tell they were female. But they all wore the sort of armor tunics, a bit like the Romans, because it is a bit kind of Roman style. Because I remember
Yeah,
them, this is the sort of they wore.
definitely.
And so after they pulled us both out, that's it. I went blank. But we were both very ill after contact with them. We both developed a rash, so it was really hard to get rid of. And somebody told me that if you have physical contact with a reptilian, sometimes you can develop a rash, and I'm not sure if it was from that.
Well,
But we both did.
in some of the experiments we did in the United States at the UFO Congress, Joanne Summerscales and Marie and another person did exhibit. When you're touched by the ETs, they leave. They leave some kind of energy signature on your skin so that you can see that under ultraviolet light. So if you have to have no other light at all, and it was done by a brilliant guy called Cordner. He was part of the Dr. Lear's team, the late Dr. Lear's team on alien abduction implants and stuff. I just can't remember his name, but we did a very good series of stuff at that time at the UFO Congress, and it showed by shining a UVB or UVC light onto your body that will illuminate any part of your body that's been touched, and it will glow, and you can see it and take pictures of it.
I have a lot of scars. I have an awful lot of scars from that are very strange shapes on my arms, and so I know if I use a UV light, I'm sure they will show up a lot better. But I did on the 6th of February, after I'd done a couple of Zoom sessions for connecting consciousness for the group. I did one on the secret space program, and then I did one on 5G actually, and I had 5G and other direct energy weapons. And on that, I showed live a reading from my lower back, which I found by accident because I was looking for high signals in my bedroom, a VMF, and I found one coming from my spine because I put the meter just by my leg as I was looking for things, and it went off. So I moved thinking there was something around my bed, and it stopped. I thought, oh, that's odd. So I thought, right, I'll try it around my body, and I found one right on my lower spine, and I tried it enough times every day and everything. So it was definitely there.
What kind of meter were you using?
Oh darn! It broke actually, that one, but it was an orange one.
Was it yeah, I think you had it on the James Rink show.
No, that was a different one. I bought one because the other broke. It was one of those cheaper orange ones, but it was a high reading. I'd have to.
What
look
frequency range? Do you know what frequency range?
Oh no, I can't offhand. I can't remember like a simple frequency range.
Yeah, it's
but
just
with
Dave Marrow with Dave Marrow. Matt Todd had a meter with a US meter you can't get anymore. If you try to ordering it from the States, you can't get it. But it was in the mid-frequency range between about 35 megahertz, that sort of range. And it went off the scale on its lower back, and it was moving. like an insect.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of attacks this year. I still have real serious pain around the back of my left ear, but I got shot with something there. I don't know what it was, but it seems to be an implant there
Yeah.
now.
Do you find if you've got a little bit of
And I got
balance,
shot in my leg too.
a bit of a balance issue?
Sometimes I really focus on trying, but it feels like it moves sometimes.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's not really. I've tried to sort of psychically turn it off, and it keeps coming back. That one. So I'm pretty sure I have actually thought about having a full MRI scan, but they're so expensive. So I'm not so. I'm just hanging fire on that one right now.
Well, the scans that I did a number of scans. I've got several ranges of frequency meters, down to low frequency and up to about 3.5, 5 gigs. And they measure in the electric field and magnetic field. And for instance, stuff that wouldn't work necessarily with a radio frequency, that's electromagnetic, would work with the electric field and would work with the magnetic field.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they're different. And then something I found was that I left a gigahertz meter on, didn't pick anything up, but when I found an implant in somebody with a much lower frequency meter, the gigahertz meter went off the scale as if it was transmitting something to say I've been found.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
And I've got a very close friend who, when I was going over people with a meter, she was able to intuitively interrogate the energy from the implant. And I mean, we did this with Ben Emlyn Jones, and he'll be speaking at the conference. I can say this because he's made it public. And we picked up an implant which had been left by green greys. And they weren't interested in him, and they just said, "Oh well, we'll just leave that there anyway and leave him alone," which is very insulting. You know, you go through the whole alien abduction thing. You've got an implant, and oh well, we don't care. You know, so that was a bit of a thing, bit of a sort of a downer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm an alien
It's a bit of
abductee, you know, but oh, they're not interested.
Yeah, well, I think they're interested in me because I still.
Well, this is a fascinating introduction to this fantastic amount of information you have. So let's keep going on this.
Well, it was on the 6th of February this year. I was abducted by military. I was in my house. The Super Bowl was just coming on the TV, and I thought, I'm not going to watch this because it tends to be satanic ritual crap, you know. And I thought,
are you telling me that there's some kind of ulterior motive to the Super Bowl, inducing satanic rituals in a mass ritual in a stadium, like football, in the same way that soccer is and Premiership football is?
Yeah. Well, it's all energy, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, and I could not believe it. I was already standing up, and I was in the middle of the lounge, and then I suddenly felt this like twinkly light hit the top of my head. I knew it was coming from above, and it went right the way around my eyes, cutting off some of my eyes, so I was like a tunnel vision. I felt it, and it was really affecting my whole system. And I thought, my first thought, you got to be kidding me. This is like a joke. You can't start this at the start of the Super Bowl. This only happens like as an invented crap. You know? I thought, no.
Don't be so silly. Not now. I'm watching the telly.
But I was on my way out, but I was thought, no, this is impossible. It can't be. But it started to get more powerful. I thought, oh. And I thought, with me coming clean with the 2 videos before, I thought, I wonder if they're going to like zap me and kill me now. Because that was my other thought. I thought, oh, this could be fatal. So I could tell what it was. It was pretty obvious the way it was shooting from above, and this must have been satellite because it was coming from straight up.
No, but
straight from above me.
When you say you can tell what it is, does that mean you've got a lot of experience of this and you recognise the situation for what it was and what was happening?
Well, I've done a lot of research on it for my for doing the Zoom for like direct energy weapons, which was like very ironic too. And
Maybe you can send me the link for that, and we can put it
yeah,
up.
I
Yeah,
will. Yeah,
yeah.
it's still we still got it and everything. There's still always seeing things on my Zoom, so, beings flying around me and that. But anyway, um, so I always thought, right, I'll try and move rooms. It was still minus like 20 outside, so I knew if I go outside and I collapse, I'm not going to live very long. I'm going to be dead within minutes because I thought it's too cold. So I thought, right, I'll try and move rooms, see if I can escape this. So I moved into the middle room. No, it still followed me. It was getting worse. Um, and so I moved into the bedroom. I thought, I'm going to collapse in a minute. I can't stay standing for much longer. So I managed to get into the bedroom. I kind of collapsed on the bed, and I just, I was just lying there with my eyes open, thinking, I can't move, I can't move. And then I thought, right, if I get the shungite, which is just like within about a foot of me, it may earth it or something. I thought anything's worth a try. So I, I used all my willpower to just try and move my arm, and I managed to grab it, but it didn't do anything. And then they shut my eyesight down. I couldn't see, but I could hear my dog was going absolute berserk. That's what traumatized her. She was running back to my room, and I heard
Okay, could you do
the
that
other two in the
again? Because
house, my son and my brother-in-law.
we lost the signal. Like, could you say that again?
Yeah, I was on the bed and I was holding the shungite, and I heard my dog. She was like, I'd never heard a dog scream, and she was screaming. She was running from the lounge to the bedroom, lounge to the bedroom. And I heard my mother-in-law say, "Oh, be quiet, Raven." And then it was all quiet in the lounge. Then it went completely quiet in the lounge, and I realised they'd been knocked out. But my dog was still awake, and she was like howling in a screaming, terrible way, and she was still running backwards and forwards, not daring to jump on the bed. But all I could think about was, oh, I wish I could help my dog, because I was like, if they're going to kill me, at least, it just made me feel terrible. And I thought, right, if I'm going to die now, I'm going to try and send a psychic attack back to them. So I tried to send a psychic attack to them, like trying to burn their flesh a bit. So I was really focusing on that because I didn't know if I was going to survive this attack. And then I heard military voices coming in. Like, I couldn't open my eyes, but I heard, like, it was several military voices, and they were communicating somehow, because I could hear like them talking to each other. Like you just know when it's military, the way they talk. Um, and then as soon as I hit them with the psychic thing, I was knocked out within seconds. I was completely knocked out. And then I woke up and I was on a like a operating table, and there was five guys. It looked like an underground base, and there was five guys in lab coats. They weren't
Why
in
did
scrubs.
it look like an underground base? What's the difference? What are the issues? What would tells you it's underground base as opposed to just a building somewhere?
Well, I have kind of psychic ability. I always have had, so I was sensing that it was like an underground feeling. Like you feel when you're underground, there's a certain atmosphere to a place. It has if you go in a basement and things like that, there's a certain sense that's different when you're underground. It had that feeling to it. And yeah, there was five guys around me. They were all in white lab coats. And one of them said, "Turn her over," but it was definitely like a operating table I was on. And then once they turned me over, I was knocked out again. I don't know whether they injected me with something. I don't know. But then I woke up about 5 hours later, groggy, like I come around from a anaesthetic. And I Zoomed my friend. I said, and he did expecting me to talk to him hours before. He said, "Where have you been?" And you seem strange. And I explained. And he said, "Yeah." And he could track back to where they were because he has psychic abilities, so he could follow the psychic link back.
Yeah, the time reversed phase conjugate. You follow the signal, the path it
Yeah.
did, what they use. You just follow that energy trail straight back to where they are, and that's how
So
you can psychically attack them back wherever they
yeah,
are. You
I
can
did
send.
that
Yeah.
later on with another group that were hitting me very, very hard. I did follow because they were tracking me at that point. I did follow the signal back because they did voice to skull, so I followed that one. I could do that. But yeah, he followed this particular signal back, and he confirmed, it's military and everything. And but I then I kind of reported it to Simon and everything, and he said, "For goodness sake, call me sooner if it happens again." But I said, "Well, I couldn't have called you anyway. They knocked me out too quick." But I showed him a photograph of the scar that was left on my lower spine. I managed to take a photograph using a camera behind my back, and I showed him that, and he says, "Yeah, it's military." So, yeah, I had evidence as
I mean,
well.
do you think they took something out, or did they put something in?
They took the implant out because after that I didn't get a signal from my lower spine. I tried it afterwards and every day for several days and everything. No EM. It wasn't setting the alarm anymore. It
Well,
wasn't
it's interesting.
registering a signal
About
anymore.
18 months ago, a similar event happened where one of the James Casbolt team, a guy called Sohail, was taken to the military, the secret space program, Delta Force Hospital under Brighton, and they extracted something out of his back, but it grew back apparently, came back. It was a pretty nasty little crocodile thing about 4 inches long.
Yes, this was like I kind of remote viewed it. It was like almost like a spider thing, but different. But it was like a central like chip thing, and then there was wires, like wire things coming from it, um, that were going to different organs and different parts of my body. I think it was literally attached to my lower spine. Um, so obviously they had the technology to remove it as well.
So do you think it was more of a mechanical Earth type
But,
technology thing as opposed to alien, or what?
I think it had been put in a long time ago when I was in the forces. I think it was pretty old technology, to be honest. I think I don't know what they hit me in my ear. It was so agonizing when they hit me, but it seemed to burrow in, and it was really negative. It took a lot of fighting, that one, and but it still seems to be there. But uh, it's just painful a lot of the time. But maybe there'll be a way of dissolving that one. I've still got to work on that one yet.
No, this is extremely important because it means you've got the ability to fight back and you've got the ability to empower. I don't like this term targeted individual. You are empowered.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard of Solaris Blue Raven? She's one of the early TIs, United
Yes, I
States.
have actually.
Yeah.
I have.
She fought back. She was able to fight back. She was being attacked allegedly by the band Rush, members of the Canadian band Rush. And they were targeting her, according to her, what she had to say, and she was able to kick ass back.
Yeah, I have done that. Like at the height of the attacks, they were microwaving me really heavily. They were also attacking my family. They were attacking my mother-in-law, which I've got a recording actually. I could always play it to you afterwards because.
Can you get more detail? Give us more detail on those attacks and how others could recognize them, or what did you do to overcome them if you were able to overcome them?
Well, the demonic attacks and jinn attacks. I've got a friend, as I said, I've got various friends, and we were doing recitations we were doing even the exorcism. I've got links where you can go to that and do literally the exorcism. I was doing holy water. I was doing, uh, and this was when I was in the room where my husband died, because he died rather brutally. So it kind of opened a portal too.
So
So I
this
had
is
to
really,
feel all
really
that.
bad stuff. It's bad news.
Oh yeah, my husband died very violent death. He cut his throat. So like the police. I was at work. The police fetched me from work. It was cordoned off as a murder zone. It was a crime zone. It was the police wouldn't let me in the room. Um, they interviewed me
They cut
and
his throat, or he cut his own throat?
he, I didn't know if the Satanic group had cut his throat, but from what I ascertained from records and things, I think he cut his own throat. But how he did it, he was completely taken over by demonic, because it was so. I didn't see him till a week later because they took his body without me allowing to see him. The police stopped me. They said, we'll handcuff you if necessary. We won't let you in the room because it's for your own good, because it's too gruesome. So a week later, they got the body back, and I saw there were
Okay,
two
we
cuts.
lost you there again. You're still frozen. Could you? Sorry to ask you to say that again, please.
Well, there was two lacerations to the front of his throat, deep. I couldn't believe how deep they were, and then one from ear to ear. And I didn't think it was capable of anybody could do that to themselves. It was so deep. It looked like it was kind of halfway through his neck. It was like I couldn't believe it. Um, and I said to the uh, funeral people, I said, did the autopsy do that? And they said, no, that's what he did. I said, how could somebody do that? How's it possible? So I wasn't convinced it wasn't murder. And even now, there's slight inklings, but I think it was probably suicide.
But
Because, as I
self-induced
said, it was like,
by
it
what?
was, he'd been by demonic, because I found some really strange notes and letters in books. They're all hidden in books, and the police didn't find them. I found them afterwards, and the one was obviously he supposedly written it, but it wasn't his writing. It was like completely demonic, and I knew which demon it was because he drew a picture on the corner. And I don't think I should say what demon it is because I don't want to kind of help someone it back. But it's one of the top demons there is.
The
It's
Goisha, what
like
they call the Goisha demons, or
it's uh,
was it dangerous
they
to even say what that is?
it's dangerous. I think I've been told it's dangerous to say which one it is, but it's like the right hand one to the devil. It's the right hand. It's completely up at the top left.
Have you heard of Tim Refat?
Yeah.
Have you been briefed on anything from him that would be of help?
No, no. But we did manage with friends. We did manage to tackle this. But as I said, I had to do exorcisms because it started to attack me, and it triggered a suicide program in me because my husband was also my handler. So it's like I had to fight the suicide program, which is why I contacted Simon immediately. And
Now,
he realized.
can you explain what suicide programming is? What you knew all about that, and how did you find out about Simon? And how did all that work? How did that fix it?
Well, I was already a member of Connecting Consciousness for quite a while, and I was going to be coordinator, but my husband made it clear I couldn't be. So I just backed off from it. and just listen to the podcasts and things. But so
when you said handler, I mean, how long was he your handler from day one? And surely you were best rid of him if he was a handler.
I wasn't aware he was a handler, not until after his death, because we did communicate with him. I couldn't communicate with him because every time I tried to communicate with him, I'd get hit by dark energies, so I couldn't communicate at all. I had to stop myself to try. I had to not even think about him. But one of my friends could communicate with him, and I knew it was real. And from that, he helped suppress the mind control for me, because he told me what to do. That was my dead husband told me what to do, which is really bizarre to sound like, but life is extremely strange. So it did manage to suppress the mind control. I thought I got rid of the mind control, but Simon said, no, you just made it dormant. I was like, oh no.
Now, who is doing this mind control?
Oh, that was the mind control was. Problem is, there was two groups involved. It wasn't just one group. There was the military group and the Satanic group. My husband was a member of the Satanic group when he was younger, and he left when he was in his 20s. But you don't really leave.
But is that the point? You never really leave. You've done a soul contract. Why?
No.
Why can you never leave? Hotel California.
Yeah. And then other friends of mine are psychic, and they warned me that, he hadn't left, and it was feeding on him. And I would give him energy to make him okay, but they would feed off him. So my whole life has been very psychic anyway, paranormal, things like that, and ETs. It kind of goes together, I think. It's just different dimensions, really. But when you die, it's not the end. My husband thought it was going to be the end, but he was proved wrong, wasn't he? Because he left a note to say that it was going to dissolve into nothing, but he found out he wasn't going to dissolve into nothing, and he's got to do a lot to make up for bad things he'd done in the past.
So there's karma, I mean, that's, so to speak. Is that?
Oh, yeah, he has karma. But he did do a lot because he sacrificed himself for me. So that was good karma. He did it for love. So that was a positive thing he did. And he helped me after he died, obviously, as well. So that's helped. But he's still got a lot of work to do. I still can't to a place for me.
Sorry, once again, we lost that. Could you say that again?
When you try and communicate, because I have psychic abilities and I've always been connected to my husband, but when I try to connect with him, I would get these dark energies attacking me. So I'd have to do recitations and things again. And I realized I had to prevent myself from thinking about it, because if I did, I'd get attacked again. So it's like...
Is that because they use some kind of cord which attaches you with that individual? They use it as an energy field to get into your energy field. Yeah,
because they come down that, so they're surrounding him, but he's okay apparently. But for me, I can't go near that sort of thing. It just really gets to me. So I have to steer clear. It's every so often they send negative, it's like even within the group and things like that, sometimes you get negative trying to attack the group as well. So even that's happened this year.
I mean, that's fundamental. That's fairly fundamental. There was a University of Toronto did an experiment called a Philip experiment, where they were able to get together and create an entity, and that entity was called Philip. so with magic, it's just a case of the energy from people concentrating can create this thought form stuff. Is that
Well,
right?
yeah, I would call thought form. That's different than a demon or a jinn. Although it's debatable whether it's a demon is a collection of like negative energy and whether we can actually dissolve it if enough positivity gets brought together.
Isn't that
I
what
don't know.
that we can get tricked into using our focus to actually create things like that against our knowledge, but with our energy?
Oh, definitely. It's something I've become aware of this year. It's like I've had to stay at a really high vibration because there's two reasons for that. One, I get attacked by the demonic or jinn, and the other reason is the group managed to raise my vibrational level for the microwaving, and I was getting hit pretty hard. That's on Zoom as well. That was recorded, and it shows my video breaking up. It shows me in pain from it and everything, and the whole group focused on raising my vibration, and by the end it managed to get through, so they were connecting me with source energy, and that managed to overcome it. So we actually have a physical evidence of overcoming certain levels anyway of microwaving.
Now, can you explain what this thing is? You mentioned earlier. Okay, let's explain. What do you mean by source energy? It's a phrase that's used by the New Age movement about getting energy from source. Is it just a different word for God or Jesus Christ or what?
Yeah, it's just a different word for God, the great creator, or as arachnids would call, like the great arachnid, the great mother arachnid.
I think John Lear
Great
calls it the
source.
Great Pumpkin.
You could call it anything you want, really. um, it's just the original creator, basically.
The Most High.
Yeah, Most High. So if you can tap in to that source, if you can tune yourself in to that frequency and like connect with it, then it can really overcome a lot of negative influences. We all have that connection, but it tends to be blocked on this planet by all the other influences there are. Um, all
Such,
the all
such
the
as.
well, all the fields that surround the Earth. I mean, when you go up the dimensions, it's very much a lighter energy. Here, it's like it expands your perception and attention and consciousness. Whereas here, it clamps it back down again. The difference is phenomenal. When you come back down here, it's like you've got a straight jacket on your mind. You've got a straight jacket on your perception. And you realise we're all little goldfish swimming around this bowl. It's just such a dense field here. And yeah, that's partly we need to break free from all that and free the planet from
Okay.
all these negative energies.
In this introduction to your, this is wonderful stuff, but it's important to try and get others to be able to take something positive and healing from it. But okay, in the last half hour, I've got another Canadian in another 20 minutes. Tell us on this sort of introduction to this vast subject that you are able to talk about the secret space program. What is it? What is the secret space program, and what did you do in it?
Well, I remember screen memories that are broken through now, and so I worked on advanced craft that were they used materials that aren't readily available. So
In other words, you
where they
can't get
got
it at B&Q.
no, or else I would. Although I have been looking at maybe creating certain engines, but yeah, you can't get a lot of the materials here, not regular materials. But they're still not as advanced. None of them are as advanced as the higher dimensional craft, because I remember coming into contact with higher dimensional craft. that have like a living skin. They're a living being, basically. And I could connect with the craft. And
like a mind link.
yeah, it's just like tuning yourself in. I can do it anyway. I can do it like to trees, and I can do it. I've done it with other animals as well. And I've done it over distance with people. Um, if they're agreeable. Obviously, I won't do it against anybody's will, but it can be done against people's will. That's what black magicians can do. So it's about connecting consciousness, basically, but at a deeper level. And so you become like a mind world with it, completely connected. Um,
So
and you
you're not getting in a
you
spaceship
can
and
understand what
flying.
it's
When you
saying.
talk about, explain what the secret spacecraft, the secret
Well, with
space.
this one, I did into this craft as a living craft, but it was a way of connecting with it. It wouldn't just let you in the craft. It was higher dimensional, so it was surrounded by what it told me. It was quantum vacuum, which helped protect it, and also allowed it to transverse space and time. Um, and you go near the side of the aircraft, and it would envelop you. It would, like, there was no door. It would kind of envelop you into the craft. And then inside it was like a soft light, a soft sort of glowing light. And it created the environment for you. So it created the air, it created the uh, beautiful levels, because it was a very warm feeling in there. It was a very warm feeling. It's very positive, lovely feeling in there. Now, it did let some of the guys in there, I remember, and they were looking around and everything. But then it wanted the guys out. So when it wanted the guys out, it just like sent a frequency out, and,
And they
and it would
disappeared.
let them out.
They were just out.
Um, well, yeah, they went near the sort of exit area, and then they just disappeared. Yeah, so it like let you out that way. It sort of enveloped around the other way again. Um, but it seemed to like me and connect with me. Um, and it was just like a direct connection. It was like you were part of it, and it was part of you. But it was it was a wonderful feeling, not negative anyway. And then it did take me to another ship, a bigger ship, um, and um, I went round there. I can't remember too much right now about that one, but I have been up this year to a ship, a similar one. But when I came back down again, I remember uh, they wanted to interrogate me. I didn't want to leave the ship, but it kind of made me go too. But it gave me amnesia, so they couldn't read. Uh, the military couldn't then read my mind. So I couldn't tell the military anything about what I'd experienced, because
So it was
the
like a
ship had,
security protocol.
yeah, it was to protect the ship and everything. It was to protect the beings
But
and the higher
how did
dimension.
that situation arise in the first place? That they came and collected you.
Well, I remember being in the back of a truck, like one of the army trucks, and they took me to the base. It was at night. And I think what it is they wanted a woman. Now, I remember Simon saying about sometimes they want women for certain ships because they can connect better than men. It's something to do with women's frequencies and things. And I'm one of the few, uh, um, I was one of the few aircraft mechanic propulsion women there was, so in the country. So they didn't have many to choose from anyway. Um, and I'm sure they picked up on I had psychic abilities and things like that. They would have picked up on all that, which is why I was in the forces in the first place. They all knew about that sort of thing, so they had me truly on the list. But yeah, I do remember actually working on some of the craft as well, the advanced craft. But they couldn't make them like the higher dimensional
I
craft
mean,
because
what
they're
did you call advanced? Have you heard of a thing called the TR3B?
yeah. Um,
I mean, that's quite old now, apparently.
that I would say is old. Yeah, it's not very advanced.
I mean,
That
it
was
was
more
used to
of
abduct people in
a
my labs, or I mean, what sort of size? I mean, the Rendlesham Forest ones were all about, I think, 2.5 meters, 3 meters, or
tuna.
maybe 10 feet.
Oh no, this was big. The higher dimensional craft was like uh trying to estimate the size of it.
Sort of
You
John Wolson stuff.
you could get about at least 20 people inside it, and then it had wings, so it was like probably about 50 feet across, something like that. But like the shape of it was big. So would it be 50 feet? It might be bigger than 50 feet. Actually, I'm just trying to think. I'd have to measure it out, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, you could get quite a lot of people in the craft. Um,
And what did it look like? Triangular, octopus,
well,
jellyfish
they,
type things? I mean, I know
um,
you showed on James Ray.
well,
Okay,
yeah,
good. Manta
this
ray.
is a rough. I'm gonna, yeah, it's more of a manta ray sort of shape, sort of craft. This is only a rough model I did. I did this very quickly, but it can they can connect to this through this, even though I made it quickly. And with this one, you see, it's got these like
Okay, bees.
almost like engines here.
Ah, right.
That would just be a glowing section
So
on the
you said
craft.
what? What sort of
It wouldn't
engines?
actually be here. They were like a living engine, so it was like an organic engine. Um, this I couldn't copy as an engine. This is like something that's like grown. It's a being. Um, so these would
It's
all be a
a
lot
little bit
smooth.
like. Have you seen the TV series Battlestar Galactica, the remake?
No, I
It's
haven't
about
actually.
15 years ago
Maybe
now,
I'll have to have
where
a look at that.
they basically were organic, craft like that. They were the fighters, and they operated from humans.
Yeah, these can operate themselves.
Yeah.
So they're a living being. They let you in or they don't let you in. You know, it's their choice. Um, but the actual craft they copied they weren't quite the same shape as this. They were angled like this.
Yeah.
So they were in that shape, but they were more straight at the back. They didn't have these fins. And then they did have, and they were electromagnetic engines. Um, and they did have like the crystals at the front. So, like the advanced craft they have for the secret space program, they had crystals at the front that were, I don't know where they got the crystals from, but they were housed in almost like a rubber housing, but it was a different material. But, it was black. And in fact, some of the crystals were black as well. And they would oscillate to a certain frequency using the electromagnetism from the engines. And that could open the portals then. So it would so you'd have to like they had what they called POPs, portal opening positions. I mean, the galaxy and the universe is made up of almost like spider webs of energy. So you travel along one of these. So you have a map, a galactic positioning system. so that you know which of these threads, energy lines, that you can create like a wormhole, where it'll lead
That's very
to.
interesting, because an astronomer in Ireland called Eamon Ansborough has postulated that, and he's located his observatory so that he would see craft coming in, because they had a crisscross area near Kingsland in, I think, Roscommon, and he was able to predict that, and he got results because he knew
Yeah,
the energy threads of some kind.
yeah, they are. That's how the lower craft can do, or the advanced craft, for human advanced craft. But the higher dimensional craft can create their own time and space because it's in a quantum vacuum, which is a different way of traveling. But we can't do that. The secret space program can't do that. They're not that advanced yet, but they can travel through the energy lines. So they open them at a certain position by using the frequencies, because they have to be at the sort of right point. And then they travel the distance until they get to the end of that energy line. But they may have a straight line. Like if you went to Mars, there'd be a straight line to Mars once you got in the right position. So you could go straight there. But say if you wanted to go to Saturn, or a planet a long way away, millions of light years away, you'd have to go onto several different strands and then find the connection for the next one, and then open it, and then as you go through. So you have to keep getting to the right position until you get to it's a bit like having a road atlas, actually. You get to a certain junction, you have to turn left or turn right, but in this case you have to reposition yourself to get onto the next road.
Okay,
Or the next,
how far away has the secret space program traveled? What sort of typical activities?
light years away. I mean, my recall is more for Mars. I haven't got total recall yet, and that's really
That's
the science.
That's a bit of a name. There is a movie about that. Total Recall on Mars.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that, yeah.
We're coming to the end of this sort of section, sort of introduction. This is absolutely fascinating. Unfortunately, we've got somebody else, but and I really look forward to seeing you having an engaging presentation at the Conservative Club in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll talk about how that's going to happen. It's a nice club. You got Ben Emlyn Jones there, and hopefully David Griffin. Have you heard of David Griffin? He's up north.
No, but I look forward.
He did a lot of work on the black goo stuff, and you did talk about the black goo.
Yeah, I was put in the black goo, so yeah, I've only just had that removed.
Have you heard of anything from the Falkland Islands on that?
I did watch a program on it a few weeks ago, actually, because
a BBC sort of type program.
Who did it? It was going back in time. It was, I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but he was in the forces, and he was actually in the Falklands, and he has his recollection of finding some in a tunnel or like a cave.
A guy called John Dallimore. He spoke. He spoke at a Christmas thing. Oh, you've frozen. You've frozen.
When he described.
It was at a lecture type presentation. Was it sort of a lecture type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lecture sort of thing.
Yeah, that was a Basis Christmas conference, and that was John Dallimore, and it was here in Devizes. Unfortunately, John fell ill a lot, and he had to get help, often frequently going to the States, and he did a lot of Close Encounter 5 type things here in Wiltshire, on Knapp Hill, where they do the crop circles. Right, yeah. When you get down here, it'll be fascinating. It really is wonderful to talk to you. It's just matter of fact. It's just great. And the main thing is you're smiling and you've been through all this.
Well, they're not going to beat me. I've gone through too much now. They can't. I've gone past that stage now. I might have an off day when I'm in a lot of pain if they're targeting me heavily, but as soon as I come out of that, I'm back to myself, and they're not they can't break me now. It's impossible.
But we do have a war type situation where they are taking us. I mean, what's the they and who are the good guys and bad guys, really briefly?
It gets really complicated. Yeah, I have been taken since I've come here, but come back to UK. But it appears more the good guys. I don't think they're particularly nasty that have taken me. Well, put it this way: I haven't woken up battered and bruised and in sheer agony. So that's always a positive. So I'm always grateful for the little things. Whereas I know other people in this, I'm in communication with other people, especially since my last interview with James, and people are going through the mill. So I just want to give people hope.
Yeah.
And service to others, and just anything I can do for people, and any way I can do to help.
Well, that's what this is. That's what this is all about. Getting the information out and helping others. I mean, a lot of brave people come forward. A lot of sad stories, and you're coming through, and all this. This is great. And you're just matter of fact and just getting on with it, and it's great.
Okay. I've gone past that stage. I literally have gone past that stage. I mean, it was literally only a few days ago that it was a year since my husband died, and I gave a few hours to that time to feeling for that. But no, it's about a better future for humanity, basically.
Well, let's make a better future. Let's make it happen. And my regards to Simon. And the rest of the team. It's a great thing that you're doing, and you're getting all that sort of stuff together, and it's really positive and really fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great group. It's wonderful, and as it expands and all the groups, hopefully we all connect.
Yeah,
and then we'll just solve all this nonsense and get rid of it.
Yes. Well, I don't know what basis number this is. Maybe basis 102 or 103 or 101 or whatever. We've gone past 100. Don't mention Ireland. Well, bye for now, Julie.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you again in a few days. And it'd be great for people to be able to talk with you in Devizes November the 24th.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it. I really will. I don't mind talking to anybody. I'll answer anything I can.
It's just sort of very relaxed. I try to make it very relaxed, and we are going to try and have a Christmas do at Christmas, and maybe you'll be able to come along there and have a Christmas dinner.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, bye for now, and thank you, Julie,
thank
on
you.
this introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Miles. Yeah, and thank you, everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,